to see you. All right, a couple more people coming in. Let's go ahead and kick it off. Today is Thursday, the 15th of March. We are 74 days into the year. We have 291 days left, and we are at the halfway point of the month as well. So want to make sure that everybody is on full speed ahead for their goals, for what they want to achieve. So first thing, like we always do, we've got some new faces on here. Welcome to Power Hour. If you are wondering what you got yourself into and wondering how you stumbled in here, what this is for is it's a training. It is for your questions. I do this along with, I've had Mr. Spencer Wynn, Top Producing Diamond, also join me with this, and he is doing the trainings on Saturday morning. I take care of these on Monday and Thursday evening, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central, which is where we're at right now on Thursday. And what it's for are people that have been launched, and it's for people that have not yet retired with their county business. So it's anywhere in between. The purpose of this is a forum so that you can ask questions, so that you can get around the campfire. We've changed a lot of things in our organization on how we do things, especially out of the Houston market. We have cut out our DFYs. We wanted to move to an online platform and be able to do that, and that's what we are doing. It's becoming very, very successful. A lot of people are going to be switching over to this model when they see how this continues to blow up. And we still like getting together, and that's why I want to make sure everybody's video is on so that we can see you. They can, and the other thing it's going to do is it's going to kick you maybe out of your comfort zone a little bit, and that's important as well. So the format of this is completely at random. It's going, obviously I've got some things to be able to talk about, but the main topic here is, what are your questions? What are the things that you are stuck on? What is it that you don't understand? What is it that you could use some better clarification on? And how to make this business work. So there is no dumb question. I encourage questions. It makes this go so much better. And if you've got the question, I promise you there's somebody else that has that question as well. And the other great thing is we record these. And so for the people that weren't able to make this live session, your participation in this is going to help another human being. And that is the crux of what we do here with Kyani. So with that, anytime you've got a question, raise your hand like Miss Cheryl is doing right now, and we will get it started. What's your first question?
Okay, I was chatting with Robin today, and she was trying to see what one of her customers ordered, the product. I had her go to reports and go to my customers, but it didn't tell what product they ordered. How does she know what they purchased?
It's funny, we had that question actually at dinner tonight, and it's, I've got a computer science degree. I actually taught classes for this, and I couldn't tell you right now the specific steps on how to get there. So it's not the most intuitive thing to be able to know. If somebody does know that, please feel free to type that out on kind of, go to this page, put a little arrow, and then say the next thing that you would click to do that. And if you'll paste that, don't do it here in the chat session because we'll lose that. Put it in the Casey Salge Power Hour Messenger chat. If you guys know exactly how to do that, post that out there. That'll be extremely helpful. And but I couldn't walk you through that one to tell you right now. I know it's available. I've stumbled on it before, but I don't know the specifics on that. The other thing that you can always do is call customer support, and they will be able to help. You might have to wait a little bit online or on hold for a second, but they would be able to answer that question for you and tell you what that customer did for you.
Okay, and then she had one more question. She said my Kyani screen in my back office doesn't look like hers.
That's probably because she doesn't have some of the same tools that you have. You might be on Kyani Social, or you might have the business building tools, and that's a separate suite. And so that might be why she didn't get that when she came on board. She didn't get social or anything like that. On April 7th, she's going to want to have that. There's some pretty cool things that are coming. But that's probably why she's seeing something different than you're seeing.
Okay, that makes sense. I'll call customer service tomorrow, and then I can put the answer on there if no one knows it.
That's awesome. I'd appreciate that. And I know that question's come out a couple times. So Karen, what you got?
I'll post that out to Power Hour. I just remembered how to get back to it.
Oh, good. I'll save a phone call. So appreciate you doing that, and that'll be helpful. And then yeah, fantastic. Cool. Any other questions, Cheryl? Okay, perfect. I see Elaine has raised her hand. I'm not sure how you did that in the thing, but that's pretty cool. It has me a little icon says somebody raised their hand. That's cool. Elaine, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I just rolled over and it had an option to raise your hand, so that's what I did. Anyways, I have a question about the other night. I know that James Bradford on the call, he had mentioned something about proposing businesses to donate towards Caring Hands, and you get you can build the business like that as well. I want to know more information about that, like, because I want to know the paperwork behind it. Like, how does that go? Okay,
what paperwork are you talking about?
Like, okay, so this came across before. Before we had partnered with the Convoy of Hope, I had a cousin of mine who was in charge of like doing like the donations for their firm. Cool. And so they had a big bulk of money that they wanted to donate towards a charity. And so I asked, like, would they get like a tax receipt? But they had told me no.
Who told you?
Corporate.
Okay. So back in the past, that was a true statement. Since then, that's something that they had. I think they did that in Vegas is when they made that announcement.
Yeah. So I would like to know more about that.
About that paperwork. Okay. So that's going to be a call to customer service as well to be able to tell you what they do to be able to generate that. James actually showed a picture of that on the Friday night of ILA when we were doing the presentation. And he actually had a picture of what it was that corporate sent to him for the donations that he had made, because it's a write-off, and that was the thing that was needed for a 501c or whatever the number is for the tax code on that. So definitely something that they'll do. James showed a picture of that. So you should just give a call to customer service and say, hey, I need the details on what that is. You might first check in your back office underneath documents and see if it has anything in there. I haven't seen anything. Yeah. Okay, so then, yeah, customer service call on that one. I can say that I know that they do that because I saw what James posted, and he's not one that's going to sit there and type that up. So it was something that he received, and then that's something that you can then use. So that's a perfect thing to go about that. And just so everybody knows, just to expand on that, what Elaine's talking about is you basically have a third product line, if you will. You've got the fluoresce, you've got the triangle, and you've also got the donations. And so you can have customers, people, anybody come in, go to your website, go to your store, and then underneath the charity donations, they can actually purchase as many of those as they want to be able to purchase. So they can get and they can make donations to the charity of the Caring Hands, and I think they do like up to 5,000 or something like that. You can do multiples of those. And so that's a very powerful way to be able to get them to do that. Now, the potato packs, when they are donating to that, you get QV for that. Okay, so if they do $200 worth of a potato pack, you're going to get 200 QV. That's the same as if you had about 2.5, 3 customers come in and do a triangle. Okay, so that's pretty powerful. Now, are we doing it for that reason? No, you're doing it because you're feeding starving kids. But if you're going to get something for it as well, go for it, And that's something that, just to expand on that, Mr. Spencer Wynn's done a good job in that in the past talking about this, and it would actually open my eyes to a neat way to do it is when you're at lunch with your buddies at work, say, hey, you know what? We go to eat at least once, twice, maybe 3 times. Some of y'all eat 5 times a day out with your friends at work. Say, hey, next month, instead of us eating 20 days, let's just eat 18 days. Let's take $25, $50, depending on where you like to go eat for lunch, and let's do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that day. And let's donate what we would have spent on this thing and spend that towards a potato pack and feed a family that was going to eat anything that day. And then we'll rough it here on this PB&J, which they would, kill somebody for. So that's a really powerful way to be able to get people to do that and make a stand. And that's what Mr. Taylor was talking about at ILA. We got to get out of our comfort zone. We need to ask some hard questions. we ask hard questions, hopefully, on getting them to get out of their own way for being on the triangle of health and getting in the business. We need to do it on the flip side on asking more from others, especially when we have so much. That's not a hard thing to do for 25 bucks. And so stand for those kids, stand for those families. It's also helping your business on top of that. It's just a really good all-around thing to do. So that's a real nice way to be able to get people and reframe the conversation around that. And you get an organization where that's part of their culture, that will help out tremendously in moving up in those ranks as well. Okay, great question, Elaine, and thank you for the spinoff that allowed as well. Let's see, who we got next? Somebody had their hand up, but Elaine had already, I see Linda raised her hand. Go ahead, Linda, unmute yourself. Gotcha.
All right, Casey. How long do you wait to edify to follow up after you edify with wellness?
How long do I wait to follow up after I've edified Wellness Simplified? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, when you sent them something.
I usually find out that amount of time when I'm sending it to them. And this is a really good, this is a very good skill to learn when you are doing the invite. When you finish an invite, what you want to do is you want to set up the follow-up time at the time of the invite. And so you're inviting them to take a look at Wellness Simplified. And this is a good little speech pattern that you can kind of make your own. And so I'll talk through it, and then I'll say it a couple times so that y'all that are writing this down can get it. But what I do is I say, hey, I'm going to add you to this Wellness Simplified group, blah, 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 blah. When do you, and these are the words I use, when do you think you would have a chance to review that stuff on Facebook that I'm tagging you in? And they're going to say, well, I'm not sure, I got this, that, and the other. What you're trying to do is get a commitment out of somebody. And so that's the intention that you want to have. You want to know all the time where it is that I'm going with this, because it's not about the script, because scripts don't work for every situation. It's the intent of what the script is going to do. And so this little script I'm giving you is for the intent of being able to lock them down on a time so that you know when you need to follow up with them. And so if they're getting ready to go on vacation and you didn't ask these questions, then you call them up the next day, and they don't answer. You're like, what the heck, man? We had a great conversation and they're not returning my phone call. I guess they're not interested. Dude, they've been on a cruise ship. They ain't got cell phone service and you didn't ask the right questions. So, and we'll get in our own head sometimes, and then we'll forget to follow back up with them a week later, and they're waiting for you to call and they don't reach out to you. And now you've lost the opportunity to impact somebody's life. So important to always, whenever you're saying, okay, when would you be able to take a look at this? And you get them to say, don't offer a time. Don't ever offer a time. Some people use the old school, hey, would it be better if I call you at 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock tomorrow? It's just, that just screams used car salesman. Okay, so don't do that. So a better one would be, not saying it doesn't work, it just has a lot of negative connotations. People heard that one before. When you just say, hey, when are you going to have a chance to be able to review this? Oh, I'm not sure, later on. Okay, well, I don't want to bug you and I don't want to waste my time, but I am going to follow up with you. So I can call you tomorrow at 9 in the morning if you want me to. No, and then it starts getting real in their head. And then they actually start doing the process, which is think through their schedule. And they're going to say, okay, I got this, I got this. If they just blurt out a time, say, okay, you're going to be able to pull that off. You're going to be able to, got the kids, you got everything else. Yeah, I'll do it. 9 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, fantastic. And then what you do is you confirm that with them. Cool, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow. It's the 16th. I'm going to call you at 9 a.m. What's a good number you want me to reach you on?
Okay.
So now it's in their head 3 times, and they have confirmed this with you 3 times. And 3 is important. And I don't know why. It's just the way the human brain works. You ever listen to a radio and they talk about they have some commercial and you're driving, you're not really paying any attention, and then they give you the number, call 866-972-1234. You don't pay attention. Again, that number is 866-987-1234. And then the third time they say, that number is 866, and you're like, you're looking for a pin. It's like, you don't even know what they were talking about in the commercial, but it's the third time, and you got to write this number down because they said it 3 times, and that's important. I need to know this. They've done their research. They know that's an important thing. So we're doing the same thing they do on the radio. We're just not, being that guy on the radio. And we're asking them basically to confirm 3 times, and then it cranks it in their head that I got something I need to do. You say, yeah, I'll get to it. They're never going to get to it. Okay, so set up that follow-up on when you're going to do it. Then you know when you need to follow up with them. And when you call them, first thing you do is say, hey, did you get a chance to watch and see those things? No, life got in the way. Because whatever they're getting ready to say, they're going to make an excuse. Dog ran over the cat in a scooter or something. I don't know. Have y'all noticed how many unbelievable excuses? Have you seen how many people have passed away from your friends and family and workers that you know? It is crazy, man. I mean, there's an epidemic. If we ask them to look at something, somebody's going to die. It is crazy. Somebody's going to the emergency room. There's going to be veterinarian things. I mean, it's insane.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Casey.
You're welcome.
All right.
Good question. All right. I think I hit home on some of y'all with that one. Y'all have experienced that. That's good. All right, next question. These are great. Let's keep them going. I saw a couple hands went up. What are you having, John? That looks good.
It's a protein bar.
Ah, gotcha.
Haven't eaten
New version of Sunrise? What you got there?
If they only made these, that would be okay too.
That's awesome. All right, very good. All right, questions. Who else got questions? I know that's not all your questions. Can't be. What's working for you? What's not working for you? William, what you got?
How you doing, Mr. Salgi?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I had some pretty good results today. I was I messed up on my first one, but I recovered it. This guy was talking about just looking for a residual income, and of course I was at work. So a few minutes later, I went back to him. I was like, "Hey, you and I were talking about residual income earlier. I got a friend who's a good businessman, looking to expand in the area. If you're interested, I can get you on the phone with him." And he was like, "Well, what is it?" And I was just like, and I said, "Well, it's a nutritional supplement." And I messed up, and I said, "It's a nutritional supplement called Kyani."
Uh-oh.
And he was just like, "Well, I'm not any good at sales." I was like, "It's not really sales. And then I was going into this explaining thing, and I was like, "You know what? I really don't know a whole lot about it. You just got to get on the phone with them, man."
Nice.
And he was like, "Yeah, okay." So I texted Mr. Stollard and to see what his schedule looked like, and he wasn't going to be able to get to me for like 4 hours, and I was just like, "Oh gosh, this guy's going to change his mind in 4 hours." So I stayed away from him so he wouldn't ask me any more questions.
That's awesome.
And then I saw him right before 2:00, and he was getting ready to leave. And I said, "I'll call you in a little bit, man." And he was like, "Yeah, okay." And like 10 minutes later, he texted me and he was like, "Hey, I looked it up on the internet. I'm not interested." And I was just like, so I just texted him back and I said, "Hey, man, you and I were talking and you said you were looking for, residual income." And I said, just give me 10 minutes, take a look at this, hear what Mr. Stollard has to say. And if it's still not for you, great. I won't mention it anymore. And he said, "Okay." So I recovered him again. And of course, came time to get on the three-way with Mr. Stollard. And so he wanted more information after he heard Mr. Stollard's, after he spoke.
Inoculation. Yep.
Yes. And I didn't really know this guy. I wasn't friends with him on Facebook or anything. And so, I friended him on Facebook and I added him to Messenger and I added Mr. Stollard and he sent him the information that he told him was going to send him. Then about an hour later, he said he wasn't interested. And I said, "Fine, at least I know, and I'm not hounding you."
Yes.
And then while I was still at work, this lady that I didn't know, she came to my job trailer and dropping off business cards for, labor ready type business for labor. And she said everything she had to say and she's getting ready to leave. And I said, "Hey, do you keep your options open for making extra income?" Yes. And she's like, "Well, what are you talking about?" And I was just like, "Well, I have a friend of mine who's a successful businessman and he's looking to expand in this area and he's looking for help." And she's like, "Oh, well, I majored in kinesiology in college, and I was in the health and wellness industry for 12 years. And I said, well, awesome. This is health and wellness also. And so she was like, yeah, I'd love to talk to him.
Do you see the difference when somebody is actually looking for something and somebody else says they're looking for something and they're really not?
Exactly. Yep.
Big difference, right? Big difference.
And I was, I was so excited. And then, her being a female. So I texted Heidi, and Heidi was busy. So I was like, Mr. Staller, do you have time to talk to this person? Because I just
talk in a high voice, Miles.
So they talked, and she wanted more information. He sent her the information. And I just have to follow up with her.
Well done.
And, yes.
Well done.
I went out and relaunched an old business partner. He's been kind of out of the loop for about a year. And so everything he used to know is completely different.
Yeah.
It's like relaunching a new business partner, and
it's huge, isn't it?
Yes, it was awesome. He's ready to get back in. He wants to go to Chicago and all this stuff. So it's awesome.
Did you get that ticket? Did you get him his ticket today?
No, not yet. He still has to get that.
Okay. Biggest thing of everything you said about how your day went, biggest thing that you can do for your business is to make sure that man gets his ticket in the next 18 hours.
Okay, will do.
Get it locked down. Get that done. That's the big out of every, and I listened intently on what you just said. Getting that ticket is the biggest thing. That is huge.
Will do.
You had so much good stuff there. So much good stuff. I want to comment on a couple of the things that you did. First off, well done, man. Well done. Man. That is way cool. And it feels good, doesn't it?
Oh, it feels great. And that wasn't the end of it. I still had one. I got one more that's ready for tomorrow. So
wow.
Yeah.
So some of the cool things out of all of that is you reached out to the guy. You saw that you were digging a hole going down Death Valley, and you stopped digging. You put the shovel down and you stopped. And that's very, very important. Very, very important. That's a tough thing to be able to do in the beginning. First, it's tough to just get outside your comfort zone and reach out to somebody. Then to be able to stop digging and stop that and to get it over there, that's a big deal. But as you saw, I want to touch on that too. When you guys tell them it's Kyani, they're going to do what this guy did. And even though you went back to salvage it, there's a high likelihood that he was so infected with the flu because he saw something and he immediately said, no, not interested. That means he's got a past experience and he's had the flu before and he doesn't want flu again. And that's what's going on. And so he immediately got out there and he caught flu because he thought it was this thing. And again, everybody, they don't say no to what it is we do. They say no to what they think they have to do when they say yes to the opportunity.
Right.
That's why you can't tell them the name until they've been inoculated. Now, after they've been inoculated, you can't keep it. You can't keep them in the little cocoon. You got to let them fly off and see what's going to happen. Right. But it's going to give them a fighting chance to get through the information in an open mindset. That's what we are attempting to do, is make sure that they hear the information in an open fashion instead of making a knee-jerk reaction after seeing something on Google.
Right.
I mean, seriously, how broken mentally do you have to be that that's how you're going to base your decisions on how you go through life? Exactly. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are that way. Yeah. And one of the topics I want to talk about tonight is mindset. We talked a lot about skill last time, and I want to talk about mindset more tonight. And this is kind of a good segue to that, is you got to make sure when you figure out this business, it's really pretty simple. And you've been at this thing, but man, you've just been shining here in the last couple of days, and you've been coming regularly to the trainings. And so I know that is sticking in your head because you're going through and doing those steps in the proper manner, and you're able to recognize when you're not doing them in the proper manner just from your own awareness, which you've learned by experiencing what everybody else is doing and all these sharing. So that is amazing. But once you get that, then what you're going to be doing is you're just going to be fine-tuning that stroke a little bit. That's all it's going to be. You're going to have more situations that you're going to come into, but it's still going to be the main topics of what you're going to discuss. You're going to go through and build rapport. It's like going and playing golf. You know, each hole is going to be a completely different look. But when it's all said and done, you're still going to swing the club. You're still going to tee it up. You're still going to putt. You know, you're still going to do all these same things. So really what it comes down to is your mindset and what your intention is at each time that you're going to swing the club. So every single person that you get in contact with is going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be the same steps. So once you get those steps down, then it comes down to the mindset on, are you going to get, freaked out by who it is you're talking to? Are you going to talk to this person different because you have influence over them? Are you going to skip some steps because you have influence over them? That mindset plays such a pivotal role in what we do. So you've got to make sure that you guys, and that's why we track it. There's a line in there that says personal development minutes. How much time are you spending on your own personal development? I don't want you guys to let that slack. I want you to consider, and people say, what's a good rule of thumb? How much time should I spend? I'm a big fan of taking action. Always take action. But you also need to sharpen the axe. So if you're getting ready to cut down a tree, John Maxwell says, go out and sharpen that axe for about 30 minutes and then go take 5 good whacks that day and then put the axe down. Okay, so that's one way of going about doing it. I talk about putting a 5 in the box, and we're going to talk about that in the summit here in just a little bit. But that's the main thing, is make sure that you're sharpening that axe each day with your personal development, and make sure you take 5 good swings with that axe each day. But another good rule of thumb is make sure that your personal development is taking up about 15% of the time that you're spending on your business each day, and you're spending 85% on the other side. So, hello, Hartwell family. So that's that's a good rule of thumb. Some people will get in this business and they become professional students, and they know everything there is to know about this business, but they never get out there and take action. You don't want to be on that side. On the flip side, you have some people that take pure action, unstoppable action, and they haven't cracked a book or listened to a presentation or listened to any type of training in their entire life. That's the other extreme. You don't want to go that far either. So you want to make sure that you're improving your skill, but you want to make sure you're doing the action. So again, 85-15 or 80-20 is a pretty good ratio that a lot of people will use for what that's worth. So good stuff, William. Really good stuff, man. I'm very excited for you. I'm proud of you. And I'm glad to see that taking those steps, you are yet another person that sees, I can do this. It's 3 steps. I can do this.
Very simple.
Yes, good. Another thing that popped in my head when you were talking about that was when you are dependent upon one specific person to be able to do your inoculations for your proof, then you've got a bandwidth problem. You're going to have a lid on how fast you can get to people. And with that guy, I'm going to kind of dovetail back into him. You were worried that, man, if I don't get to him in the next 3-4 hours, he's going to be gone. If you're dealing with anybody, that 3 to 4 hours before they hear from somebody is going to be the thing that keeps them in or out, don't even worry about them. Get them as a customer and move on with your day.
Yes.
Because I promise you, there's never been a big decision that I've made. I might have had my mind pretty much made up, but I never make a decision that quick. Especially if it's a big deal, especially if it's a business. You're not making a choice that fast. You're going to do some due diligence. You need to do the things. I'm actually a big fan of anybody calls me up with any high pressure thing that says, hey, we got to know, and especially if it's cold, hey, you need to make this decision. It's now or never. Well, I guess it's never. Then have a good day. And I hang up on them. I mean, that doesn't work for me. So, so don't worry about that. Anybody that's you feel like they got to have that right then and there. Let that cause you to question why you feel that way, and start asking some questions about that person, about that prospect, to figure out, why do I feel that they need to have this in 4 hours or they're going to be gone? Is that somebody that's breaking something? Another thing that kicked off is back to the having somebody that you can put them on the proof. Another thing I want you all to do is, as you hear people are speaking and you start getting a feel for what people do, take notes on that. Start meeting people that you see in these little boxes. You guys have got a major mastermind going on right here with the people that are in Power Hour. You have a way to be able to get to all these people in here. We've got a Power Hour chat, and you got the website where you can go in and get all the different videos and go back and figure out who those people were. So you've got a tremendous resource here of other people, and we're all in the same fight. A lot of times people say, well, they're not in my team, I'm not going to work with them. That's pretty close-minded, because these people can help you and you can help them. It's got to be reciprocal. It can't be you calling on them all the time. and they don't get anything out of it. It's got to be a transaction that's being done. So a lot of times you can go, and if you hear somebody that's, got a special skill set, then you could reach out to them for somebody that would relate to them. You were talking about relatability, and you were doing it just based on gender. And that's a very powerful thing to do. And I have absolutely no problem with that. Get them in front of somebody that's very much like them. But you need to have more than just two people to be able to do that. So build your network up with people that are at a similar level, a peer relationship with you, and go sideline to somebody to have them do that if you feel that they've got the skill to be able to handle one of those talks. And the way to do that is you learn that skill and you be available to do that for them and teach them how to do it. Now you've got a resource built in that would help you. You just need another person that's not you. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Very good. Awesome. Yes, my pleasure. Well done, man. I'm very excited for you. That's excellent. All right, who's got the next question? Jesse, how are things going with you, sir? I got you unmuted.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I got you.
Okay. Well, I think slow.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I've still been trying, but I think two things. I don't think I burn through people fast enough. I tend to get hung up with the people I'm around the most.
Yep.
And they seem interested. So
Uh-huh.
I keep going back trying to, hook and reel them in,
Yep.
thinking that I'm, one step away from getting them. But
Yeah.
so I think that's, I don't know, part of my problem, but I think it's really two things. I think it's not burning through enough people fast enough. And still, I guess, figuring out how to get people interested into getting on a call. Seems like when I get to that point, it's like, shoot,
There you go.
they're done. So I don't know if I'm, some cases, trying to get there too fast.
That's
And,
actually what I was going to say. Most of the time, what I observe is that the questions being asked, make sure the questions that you're asking them are about them. It can't be about what you want out of the situation. And that's a tough one because it's almost a dichotomy. You're like, well, but I'm doing this so that they'll join my business. Yes, that's true. But the intent is one of the key ones. And if your intent is for them to better themselves, then it's a lot easier for you to feel okay getting them on the phone. And you'll see that your conversion of them getting on the phone is a whole lot higher as well. When I talk with somebody and I get done, if I'm prospecting somebody, I have 100% conversion rate on them getting on the phone with somebody. If I'm sending them to either David Daniel or Miles Stallard myself or David Nieves or James Bradford or Mark Davenport, when I have that chat with them, I know without a doubt that they're going to do it. And the reason is I've asked so many questions about them and dug into their life where I'm basically could, get up on stage and tell a little story about them and hit the highlights. And they would be like, wow, he really listened. And so when I am talking with somebody or when I'm listening to somebody, I'm not doing too much talking. I literally will put my hand over my mouth. And it's my mental way of shut my own mouth so that I get them to just talk. And I think it's also a clue when they see me, if we're having this face to face, where they see I've got my hand over my mouth, I'm not going to say anything. So they're just going to keep going. And I literally will let them just go until they tire themselves out or I've got another meeting. And I do that so that, and we get done. And I've had this happen so many times. They say, man, this has been such a great conversation. And I just smile because I got like 6 words in, and the other 20 minutes was them just, boop, 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 just going. And I let them do that. And part of me says, I'm letting them do it to themselves, but I'm doing it for a reason. I'm trying to learn about them. So again, people say, well, that's manipulative. You're trying to get all that stuff so you can use it against them. No, I'm using it for them. I'm hearing all the things they say so that I can figure out. People say, how did you figure all that out? I just listen really, really well. And I ask questions. I'm an active listener. I ask questions to get them to keep going and dig in more. And I can ask the right questions, the right time to steer the conversation towards where I think it might be going and get that into one of the areas I'm interested in is getting them talking about their health, getting them talk about their background, getting them to talk about their family, get them to talk about their occupation. And so by doing all that stuff and you get them to talk long enough, they're going to tell you what their issues are. People can't help but do that. It's very rare that you get somebody that won't share that with you. And when they do, then you've got the stuff you need to be able to get there. And then when you're able to get through all of the nonsense, all of the facade that everybody has up around them, that everybody thinks everybody is just perfect and doing great. And we all know internally that there are very few people that are very happy with what's going on in their life. Most of them are just putting on a smile, trying to get through the day. So when you're able to figure out and hear from them what's truly going on, and that just comes from a longevity of time of them sharing, you can really get some good information. And then when you've got that, then you show them, hey, I need you to get on the phone because I can fix what you are talking about. And you share with them, you reiterate what it is you heard with them. Then they're like, wow, this person is interested in the most important topic in my world, and that's me. And you're able to relate with them on such a powerful level, and they told you personal stuff, and you're going to show them a way to fix that by getting on the phone with this super mysterious, awesome person. They're going to get on the phone. And when you make it sound like it's a real simple thing, hey, I just need to get you on here real quick, just a quick introduction. You don't need to tell them that they're going to have, here's the following steps that's going to happen on this phone call. He's going to say his name. He's going to tell you all these things. He's going to talk about 5 reasons for this, 2 reasons for that. So they don't need to know all that. Just make it nice, easy. Hey, I want to get you on the phone with this guy. He's going to fix all those problems. Would you give him 5 minutes? Maybe it takes 10. Maybe it takes 17. I promise you, if they're ready to get off the phone, they will pick up that phone and they will click that little button and they will hang up. I've done that myself. If I'm done with the conversation and I can't get in it, I just hang up. So if they're done, they'll hang up. But the chances are they're going to be interested in that topic because it's going to be about them. So all that to say, get the personal information. When you get that, it's time to go. It's time to light them up. But until you get that personal information, make sure it's not just a conversation about the weather and the Astros and the Rangers over and over and over and over again. That's building rapport, but it's not deepening the connection. That's where David Nieves calls it making the deposit in their emotional bank account. Make it be something that is important to them. Show interest in what it is that they like. If you know something about them that you remember from a while, bring that up. They're like, wow, you remember that about me? That's why it's real good to take notes on everybody that you talk to. Do it in your phone underneath notes for each of your contacts. That's a powerful way to do it. When they tell you some special thing, they talk about their kid, they talk about their dog. If you remember somebody's dog's name, dude, you're good to go. And it's those little tips and those little tricks that's that slight little difference on the swing, on the downstroke that makes the drive go, instead of 260 yards, makes it go 315 yards. It's that one little bitty change, and that you pick that up and you get. Now, the best way to do that is get out on the driving range and just keep swinging the golf club. And you're going to learn those things as you go. Or you got a good coach that can tell you those things before you got to go through all those swings, but you're still going to have to go through those swings. So keep doing what you're doing, Jesse. And it might take a little bit longer. Be cool with that. Just make sure that you're aware and you're tracking those results and then bringing those back so that somebody can review them with you. There's nothing worse than going to the golf course and swinging 100 times and being absolutely fundamentally unsound with your swing. And now you've grooved that into your conscious, and now you keep making the same mistake over and again. You want to have somebody there reviewing this with you on about the 3rd swing so you don't get yourself into a pattern that's not going to work out.
Okay.
That help?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So any I don't want to leave you hanging on that. So we had a plan back in the day. You did some stuff. We reviewed. What would be the adjustment that you got out of that you think you might try on your next person or somebody that you got in mind?
Well, I think the main thing you said was listen more, right? I think too soon I want to start telling them about, what the product, maybe not necessarily what the product is, but that it's health and nutrition. And, I've been on the product since, first of the year. And, so I think sometimes maybe I am talking too much instead of just kind of listening. So,
it's interesting if you, and I don't want you to stop taking action, but when you're not actively talking to somebody, I want everybody to do this tomorrow or maybe tonight, depending on what your day looks like. But tomorrow, when you're out and about, work, whatever you're doing, going to school, driving around, anytime that you hear another human being communicating, pay attention to what's going on. I mean, you don't have to stare at them and get in a fight with anybody or anything like that, but listen to what's going on around you. You will be absolutely amazed at the lack of listening that human beings do with each other. The reason for that is that voice that's in your head, that voice that's talking right now, the one that you're like, what voice is he talking about? The one that said that, that's the voice. That voice, and there's statistics on this, and I don't remember what the numbers are, but it was astronomical on, I mean, the amount of time that that little voice is talking to you, and you don't even know it. And it is weird. So what happens is when there's a conversation going on between two people, somebody hears little bitty bits and pieces, and they're instantly forming what their rebuttal is going to be so that they can make themselves look important in the conversation. And they're not paying attention to what the other person was saying because they're in their own head thinking about what their response is going to be instead of truly hearing what the person said. And they just go on pattern. Most of the reason for that is nobody says anything interesting. They're just saying nonsense about the Astros or the Rangers or whatever and about the weather, and those aren't things that are important, so you kind of tune them out. But once you get in the habit of tuning people out, then you got that habit of tuning people out regardless of what the information is. So watch other people, and if you're really observant on it, you can see the ones that had no clue what the other guy said. I mean, it's like, what am I watching here? My grandfather used to do this. It would be my grandmother and one of her friends. And, I mean, they were 75, 80 years old. They're sitting at the table, and he'd be sitting there, and he'd be watching both of them. And it would literally get to a point, and I would watch them do this, and he would get so irritated, but they would both be talking at the same time. And neither one of them was listening to each other. And my grandfather would get so irritated. He goes, you two are not even listening to what the other person's saying. He'd get up, storm off. It was the funniest thing to me just to see him, because I was young. But it happens a lot. And a lot of people, they have no idea what the other person's saying. They're just going through the motions. So break that cycle, and the other person will recognize that you're listening to them. And when they see that you're listening to them, it's like, oh, this has been wonderful. And when you start repeating a couple things back to them, then you know what's going on. So don't feel like that's the instant that you need to be able to pique them with this. Come back later the next day. Sometimes force yourself for a couple of days. Now, one problem that I also see is some of y'all want to get in there and you're doves and you want to help the other person, and you're going to hear their personal story for like 6 weeks in a row before you try to pique them. I don't want you to go to that extreme either. But Jesse, it sounds like you might be pushing too soon, where you might have some other people that never push soon enough. So you got to make sure that it's based around that. But Jesse, maybe even wait a day, even when you're about to do it, don't do it. Hold back. Wait till the next conversation. And then come in and say, hey, you know what? I've been thinking about it. Make it be a couple hours. Make it after lunch. Do it the next day, whatever. Just don't forget. But when you come back up, say, hey, I want to follow up with you. You shared some stuff. And I've been thinking about you a lot. And I read this article. I think you'd be really interested in it. What article? Well, you sounded like you were interested in making some money. I saw this thing about a guy, similar situation on this Done For You system page on Facebook. I want you to read that. And then you're not getting in there and throwing up all over them. You're getting them and easing them into the information. You're easing them into being able to see something on that. So that might be, and I said Done For You system, I meant Wellness Simplified. So you can send them into that direction to be able to do that. So that might be something that you can do. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. All right. I appreciate you sharing or being volunteered by me and still sharing. So thank you for that. All right. Anybody else got any questions for me? Come on, y'all got some questions. Middle of the month. Is everybody where they want to be?
I do.
What you got?
Okay. I called one of well, I didn't call. I taxed 3 of my cousins from California that I haven't heard from them in about 20 years or so. So at this point, we were just texting back and forth. How are you? How your family? And this, I haven't heard from you, blah, 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 all this stuff. But that as far as it went with all 3 of them, the texting. And I haven't heard from the other 2. But one of them was we were texting back and forth, found out that they will be coming to the valley somewhere in the summer. Mm-hmm. They're my cousins. And we're going to try to get together then, because we haven't seen each other. What point do I bring it up? should I mention it now? Should I say about if they're interested in looking at other ways of making money? Can I send them the family.com?
Since you don't know right now, you're not done building rapport.
Right.
So you need to go back and build more rapport.
Okay.
So whenever you got that question of, should I do this next? Should I do this? We talked for a long time. I feel like we built rapport. I'm ready to move on to step 2. The problem is you don't know which way to go. And so you haven't been able to answer the question on which one are they interested in.
Right.
You need to ask more questions. And you have asked the easy questions on, how's your family doing, those types of things. And it's been 20 years. So, you're knocking the rust off, you're knocking the dirt off on this relationship here. It's not time to go making withdrawals out of that bank account just yet. You got to make some deposits in that bank account. You got to rebuild that relationship. Otherwise, it's going to feel weird because they're going to be like, okay, 20 years, you call me, and now you're asking me to join this business thing. That's going to sound a little weird. And the reason for that is they haven't given you anything personal. You haven't built into it long enough to be able to get that. So it's not time yet. And that's why it feels weird. You're not quite sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's other parts of you guys that have gone through. It's like, man, it's crystal clear. I missed my window. I need to go back and hit it. They gave me everything served up on a platter, and I didn't take it. I didn't take my shot. And that's okay too. You can just go back and say, hey, you told me some stuff. Let's do this now. But for you, Ava, it's not time yet. It's not time on that. I can tell just because you're not ready for it and you're going with your gut. That's like, I'm not sure what to do here. That's because there's nothing to do except build more rapport. They haven't given you that personal stuff. That's personal stuff yet that answers one of those questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then this other one, she did text me back and she said, I'm going to call you in a little bit. She calls me up. And I found out that she has breast cancer.
Ooh.
Yeah, and she is going through all the process, the chemo and all that. And it's not going to be over until June.
Mm-hmm.
So do I just kind of...
You do not wait. You get her on the triangle as absolutely quick as possible as you can right now. There are so many testimonies of people. In fact, Joanne, I think you might actually even have one. Joanne, do you mind speaking up to that? I know you got a hell of a testimony on what you've seen happen with people with that.
Yes, I would love to. Ava, my daughter-in-law was diagnosed with breast cancer last June, and she had been on the triangle since February, and we took it to MD Anderson, and they approved for her to take it while she was undergoing chemo. She had 6 months of chemo, and she never once got physically sick. She didn't have any of the nausea, nothing. And she had the last four doses was what they call the red dog or red devil, which is extremely powerful chemo. So she never missed a day of work. She teaches high school, and she never missed a day of work. They told her she would lose her hair in, I don't know, like 18 days or something, and it was more like 3 months. So I can't say of anything more than be sure and let her know she needs to get on it now.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Pretty powerful stuff, huh?
Sure is, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Joanne. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Good. Yes, sir.
This is Mike Mercer, and we have some girls in our church that Jody and Susie, they're sisters. And about 2 years ago, Susie, they went to Texas, and she wound up in one of the hospitals in Dallas and had her stomach taken out. It's just been real off and on with chemotherapy. And about 2 or 3 months, about 6 months ago, they advised them to stay in the house, to not let anybody see Susie. And I mean, she was just going down and down, and she was losing weight. She was down around 80 pounds, and they just couldn't stop the weight loss or anything. And finally, Deborah introduced them to the county, and of course, she's taken all the chemotherapy and everything. And within just weeks, Susie probably would have been dead. But she took Connie for 3 days, And her sister called Deborah and said, wow, what is this stuff? I've got to have it. We've got to get y'all onto it. And the next time they went to the doctor, she actually gained 3 ounces. And she called Deborah and said, I can't believe that, Susie hadn't been out of the couch or off the bed in, a month or 6 weeks. She's up cleaning her bedroom and cleaning out her closet. And actually, she's been at church the last 2 weeks and just looks like a brand new person. She's not over it yet, but where she had no strength, no anything. And I mean, she has just had a total life turnaround, and it was nothing but the triangle of health.
That's awesome. And that's so powerful. We had, and then there's so many stories on this, and I appreciate you guys sharing this, and it's good to do this from time to time too, so people hear this and remember the power of what we've got. There was a comment made on the chat session on a lot of people saying, oh, I just can't take I'm taking all these medications. I don't want to take anything else. And you've got 2 options on what you do with that. You can let that go. And that's the easy path. That's a very simple path. It's very safe going down that path. Nothing happens down that path other than they don't get well. Or you have an uncomfortable conversation that's uncomfortable for you, and maybe it's uncomfortable for them, or maybe it's not. We'll find out. But you stand up for that other person. You don't let that broken way of thinking continue. You get beyond that. You have a conversation. You've got to increase your skills so that you can use words out of your mouth that are going to cause another person to look at something through a different lens. You got to be the person that's putting those sunglasses on them so that they see it through that different sphere of that different color scheme. You got to stand up for them on that. So you can let them go and just say, yeah, okay, understood. No, I don't understand. How in the world are you equating what I'm offering to you with other medication? It's not medication. Are you going to eat anything today? Are you going to drink water? Well, you're taking other stuff with your medication now, aren't you? So that's a dumbass comment. And get that way with people. So, and y'all, some of y'all are giggling. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. You got to disrupt that. That's why I tell you guys to write down, I've got the distribution rights to an international nutraceutical company offered in 63 countries. You want to find out about it? What? What did you just say? I've never heard those words put together that way, so now I'm curious. You got to do something. You've heard it, the term disrupt. You've got to disrupt the freaking playback sequence that's going on in people's minds that's just constantly going on, and it's saying the same junk over and again. You got to get in there and smack that thing. You got to disrupt it. And so that's what I mean by stand up to that. Stand up to that voice. Stand for them. That voice is bullying your friend or your family member. Thank you for the time chat. So you've got to stand. You cannot, if you just go through and let them get away with that, they're going to go through with no changes in their life. Help them at the customer side. Now, on the business side, if they ain't going to see it beyond that, then you know what? There's a time limit on this thing. All right. But from a customer perspective, you got to help them on that. You got to get them to see past that. But if they won't, then they ain't gonna. And that's the part that really sucks. There's nothing worse than having, and I'm not saying, and I want to be careful here because it's being recorded, but I'm not saying we've got the cure to cancer. But let's say you found the fountain of youth and nobody would drink out of the darn thing. That'd be pretty irritating, wouldn't it? And that happens a lot. That happens a lot in this business. So you can just say, well, that's just how it is, or take a couple cracks at it and go crazy on it. I mean, go beyond what you normally would. Make that uncomfortable step. What keeps you from doing that is your fear of what that person is going to think about you. Does that opinion matter more than their health and their life? That's the question that you really need to ask and get answered. That's what holds us back on that. So awesome. All right. Excellent questions. Let's see what we got. Last thing here. He took triangle all the way through, never had side effects. They said he would. Yeah. I mean, seriously. And another thing that you can say to hopefully get some ammunition, but if you don't go in strong, then they're not going to make it. They're not going to make any difference. They're not going to take it to anybody. They're not going to take it to their doctor. The doctor is going to keep them on their same little prescribed ritual that they're going to do, and that's what they've been taught to do, and they're going to keep doing that. Again, I love doctors. If I get shot, I want a doctor. All right, I don't want a nutritionist. All right, but if I've got health issues that are from the food I'm eating, I don't need a doctor for this. I need a nutritionist for this. All right, so do your best to get your people to see that and be able to go around and through that. All right, so we are at time, and we've got another group that's coming in. Some of y'all, a good portion of y'all actually are going to be that. But I'm going to stop this so that I can stop the recording, and I'll be able to have that to put on the Power Hour. So I'm going to end this meeting, and then that will allow me to get the recording off of here and put it on the webpage, and then I will relaunch this. So it might kick you out. If so, just come right back in for the folks that are doing the summit. And with that, anybody get some good things out of tonight's Power Hour? Give me a thumbs up if you did. Sweet. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. So our next Power Hour is going to be on Saturday. Don't forget, Mr. Spencer Wynn. That's going to be 10 a.m. Central to 11 a.m. Central on Saturday. Make sure you come with questions and let that rock star of a gentleman be able to help you out. And it's also good, even if you've been coming in here to meet, hear other people, okay? I've got the way I do things. I'm not saying that that's going to, I am saying they're right, but I'm not saying that's what everybody's going to do. Everybody might want to do things different, so they might want to hear different perspectives. So make sure you get those and then take the best out of everybody that you hear and then make that your own. So with that, appreciate y'all jumping on. And for the folks on Summit, we'll be right back. And for Power Hour, we'll see you guys on Saturday morning. Y'all have a great night.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.